Unfortunately, these days we have to start off with legal disclaimers. And so I thought I'd take the opportunity to actually turn this into something positive. So let's talk about the disclaimer. Isagenix are food and supplement products, and they're not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure or prevent any disease. But the positive is they're designed to feed the body nutrients and make your body the miracle and the healing that it can do on its own. So the idea is give the body the nutrition it needs and the loving and nurturing. And we're going to talk about things other than Isagenix tonight. And if you do that, often miracles will happen. And it's all about you and your physiology. The second thing about this is it's about you. I'm going to give you some guidelines tonight, but some of this is going to be self-exploration. I'll say, look, you can try these things, or this is what's worked. You have to find what's right for you. And I've done this for so many years and with so many people that I've learned over the years is there's sort of the average, and then there's this huge variation. Find out what's right for you. Weight loss disclaimer, we can't make, and now with the FDA and FTC, we can't make any claims. I'm going to share some studies that were done at the university level, and all this says is that it's not considered typical. And I would agree with that because there's such a variation on both more and less. It's all about your journey, your pace, your sort of how you will go forward. So one of the things is to realize that a lot of people in this get so excited about their results, they want to share it with everyone. And some of these other people have medical conditions, they're taking medication, they may have serious illnesses and have several doctors and maybe taking a lot of medication. They need to be monitored by their doctors. And people don't like it because sometimes medical doctors are very closed-minded, everything's no. Yeah, but the problem we have is you're a food product and supplements, and you may not know things that they do know. What you have to come and understand is they do have the final decision, and you are the one that has to work with them. I will suggest that when you go and approach an MD or a naturopath or a DC, whoever, is ask them if they can monitor you to make sure it's safe for you. And asking to monitor is a lot better than saying, should I do this? Because the reflex is no. Monitor seems to open minds a little better, and it's still their judgment. And they may have to you may have to give them some literature and take some in the labels, and they have to look at it. Some are more receptive than others, and there is a movement to more natural in medicine these days. So one of the things when I was introduced to the company and I licensed my products to them was there's a lot of weight loss products out there and systems and so on, and it's not really whether you can take it off, it's whether you can keep it off, number one. And number two is, can you do it with people that have had problems since childhood? Kids that get overweight really struggle their entire lives. And this is Jill Birth is an example of this. She had been overweight her whole life. Actually, in grade 4, she was weighed by the school nurse and weighed 140 pounds. And this school nurse, a loving soul, said to her, "You're a fat little kid. You need to go on a diet." Mm-hmm. So she did. She dieted her whole life, never was able to keep the weight off, and then did Isagenix and managed to lose 135 pounds. The former fat kid became a fitness model. Pretty extraordinary transformation, and she's kept it off now. I think it's going on 4 years. And that's the important part. The keeping it off part is really an important part. As a physician, this is more impressive to me than just losing weight and then it comes back in 6 months or a year. Craig Coleman, another overweight child, this is 126 pounds. He ended up losing, I think, over 130. At the age of 30, he ran into a lot of health problems. He was very overweight. His mood was very low. And this was his transformation. And he's kept this off now going on 5 years. So remarkable. Former fat kids. I want to show you some athletes. This is Lori Harder. She won 2 fitness competitions in terrific shape. She was actually on a competitor's product, switched to Isagenix, and then won those 2 competitions. Trains hard. She looks like this not just because of the supplementation. Good genetics and trains hard. We're going to talk about exercise and training and what that means as well. 9 out of 10 Americans are fat. I mean, this is an extraordinary, this is from the CDC, this is an extraordinary statistic if you think about it. 9 out of 10. And the Canadians are trying to catch up. We're now about 2 out of 3 adults are overweight, but this is the scary part. 1 out of 3 kids are fat. And this is in both countries. What's interesting is the childhood obesity rate is the same, and that's unbelievable. The transformation from when I was a child is 1 in 500 kids were overweight to now 1 out of 3. And who's being blamed for this? The moms. It's interesting how society has not looked at the real guilty parties, but said, moms, you're the reason the kids are fat. We're going to talk about some other reasons this is happening. And the moms have been blamed. So what is it? It's about calories, right? You eat too many calories, you're lazy. Kids are lazy. Adults are lazy. Couch potatoes. What else is going on? Lack of exercise. Yet, despite all this about diets and exercise, it turns out diets make you fatter. It's interesting. There's an article today in the New York Times. It says why you can't lose weight on dieting. New York Times. So what they said was, if you try and diet, you'll actually be fatter than people that don't diet. And it's true. Serial dieters are much fatter. This is research done by Pennington. UCLA has done it, and other centers. And what they found was if you go on a low-calorie diet, after 2 years, most people gain all the weight back. That's like 99% gain the weight back. But the thing is, you're much fatter than when you started. Why? Well, 1/3 of your weight loss is muscle and bone. So if you lost 1/3 of your weight loss is muscle and bone, when you gain it all back, that's all replaced by fat. So you can imagine if you do serial dieting, what's happening is your weight's staying about the same for most people, maybe getting a little more. But the worst part is you're much fatter underneath, because you're basically dieting off your lean muscle mass and your bones, which makes it harder for you to lose weight in the future. So diets have not been the answer, and the research is very clear. And here's another sort of thing. We talked about calories, we talked about exercise. Why do diet sodas make you fat? I mean, that's an extraordinary thing to think about. Diet sodas make you fat. How many calories are in diet soda? It's funny, in some parts of the country, they don't know this. I don't know if they don't get any education or newspapers or anything. It's 0 calories. So how can 0 calories make you fat? This was a study done in San Antonio, Texas. And they took people and they took away their drinking water for 7 years. Can you imagine? 7 years of drinking water, and they made them drink diet soda. 75% of them gained excessive body weight in the form of fat. But they didn't change anything else. How do 0 calories make you fat? So obviously it's not just about calories, and exercise is another factor going on here. So let's talk about a fat burning system, because it really isn't about weight loss. As we've shown on the dieting, you can lose weight. When it comes back, you're fatter. So you want to do is you want to burn off fat. And if anything, you want to increase your lean muscle mass and your bone density. This is the Isagenix fat burning system. And you can see there's a lot of products there because it needs to be a system. Humans are complicated. It's not like you're going to take one thing and have a miracle happen. You have to put lots of things in your body, give it what it needs. And then we talked about earlier, the body becomes the miracle. This was a study done at the university level, and it was done with MRI technology. And they measured how much fat someone lost in the Isagenix fat burning system versus a low-calorie, heart-healthy diet. And what they found over 1 month was the average person on Isagenix lost about 6.8 pounds. Now, maximum theoretical fat loss in a month is about 8 pounds. So 6.8 is really good. Heart healthy didn't do near as well. And this was impressive, but this was more impressive. They lost 2.3 times more visceral fat on Isagenix. Visceral fat's a deep belly fat. It strangles your organ. It's associated with all the major diseases. It's what we're really concerned about as physicians. To be able to lose, 1.6 pounds of visceral fat, like on the Isagenix system in a year, would be marvelous. But to lose it in a month using MRI technology was amazing. So I wanted to demonstrate this so on 120 pound on this side, at 250 pounds on this side, if you look at the individual, they're much larger, but I want to focus on the center. The center is where the organs are. On your left, you can see there's very little yellow, there's a lot of black, that's air. On the right, there's this big mass of yellow, that's visceral fat. It literally strangling the organs, and it actually becomes an organ itself and releases a lot of harmful chemicals and hormones. Now, I wanted to point out fat burning isn't just for people that are overweight. Dr. Michael Colgan, who's also involved with Isagenix now, he was, and still is, the godfather of nutrition for physicians, because in the 80s we didn't have anyone. He was the #1 expert in the world. So when he got involved with Isagenix, he took a number of world-class triathletes, trained 6 to 7 hours a day. Average body fat was 10% or a little less. Put him on a fat-burning system for 30 days of Isagenix. The only thing he did different was he gave him an extra shake, didn't change their training, And in 30 days, the average athlete changed 4%. What do I mean by 4%? They lost 4% of fat and they gained 4% of muscle. Okay, and 7 out of 10 finished in the top 10 in the worlds. Quite a remarkable result. So I wanted to show you, athletes are very scared because part of the fat burning system is cleansing. Mago's been cleansing his athletes since the 80s. And it's been remarkable what's happened when you switch to an athlete and put them on a fat burning system. So I did that to sort of give you the athletic version. We're going to come back to the calories and exercise. There's more going on here. Let's talk about it. So this is the state you want to be in. I showed Aaron Harrison here because, first of all, the women really like him, and he is cool, but his body's cool, meaning that his body's not inflamed. What it means is that hormonally he's well balanced. It means his growth hormone's high and his cortisol is low. And in that state, what that means is he's walking around in positive nitrogen balance, which means is his body's not inflamed, his growth hormone's high, which helps burn fat, put on lean muscle, thicken his bones, and cortisol is low. Cortisol, what does it do? It puts on fat, burns muscle, thins bones. So you want to walk around high growth hormone, low cortisol. Now, this is what happens when the body's inflamed and it's bad. I like Aaron. It's really funny because in the lower left, he had to put before because he wasn't sure. So if I go back one, this is him before. And you notice he's a little swollen too. And in this state, his cortisol would be higher. His growth hormone would be lower. So this is a fat storing state, right? So what happens when cortisol is high, growth hormone is low? You're storing fat. You're burning off lean muscle, thinning your bones. And this is how we don't want to walk around. So some of you don't know what any body inflamed means. It's basically like I took gasoline and put it on the inside of your body and lit a match. Poof. And this is how most of society is walking around. This is industrial society. For the scientific types, I put on this immune complexes showing the body's inflamed. And this is a massive reaction which triggers high levels of cortisol and drops your growth hormone. Now, what causes this state? Because remember, we started talking about at the beginning about that it wasn't just about exercise and diet. We're talking about weight. Now we're talking about general health. And we got to talk about toxins. Toxins inflame the body. This is a study from Mount Sinai School of Medicine. It found 167 deadly toxins in average people. 167 pesticides, fungicides, heavy metals, arsenic, lead, PCB, jet fuels, fungicides, and so on. That's an enormous amount of toxins. If you eat conventional foods, which means you don't eat organic, you consume on average about 1 gallon of pesticide a year. That's why I put the gallon up there so you know. There's a tremendous amount of toxins. And there's a problem that starts to occur. And what's interesting, some of this is becoming mainstream now. So this was a 2-night special on CNN about Toxic America. And this is what's happening to your lettuce. This is why I encourage people to eat organic. Because do you want to eat lettuce from a guy who's spraying it in a hazmat suit? I don't know. But this is what's going on in conventional. Tremendous amount of pesticides, fungicides, insecticides. Up until 1945, we all ate organic except for trans fats in America. Another story. In 1945, after World War II, the weapons companies had to do something. And they created pesticides, insecticides, fungicides because they found dead bodies and dead bugs in the trenches and decided that small amounts of insecticide, pesticides wouldn't make humans sick. And it turns out to be entirely not true, especially kids. So I'll give you an example of how bad this is. So they did a study with children. They put them on an organic diet. They took them off all food additives and did their best to remove the toxicity. In 2 weeks, 25% increase in IQs. That's just one. I got thousands of them. So here's the message. Eat organic if you can. Now, what's nice is like, if money's an issue, Walmart now has it. I don't know what you're wherever you are, but there's Safeway, there's Vons, Costco. There is more affordable. Eat organic if you can. And the reason is to avoid the toxicity as best as you can. You got 167. So the first thing about toxicity is try and avoid it best that you can. This is a typical home, and this is your child walking around, and look at the number of toxins, not just coming in from food, but also in terms of the environment. Prevention goes a long way. But what happens to you physically when these toxins come in? And this is a big problem. So what happens is toxins come in, And the liver goes, great, I know how to get rid of this. I expected humans to poison the planet. I'm a super liver. Nah, the liver can't do that at all. The liver panics. I got nothing to do with it. I don't know what to do with these 167 deadly toxins. So it goes into the bloodstream, and they circulate around. They piss everyone in the body off. Everyone's mad. I mean, everyone's mad. Now, who's going to take these toxins? Remember, they're fat-loving, so who do you think takes them? The fat. So the fat sucks them in and says, I'll make you a deal. I'll take the toxins under two circumstances. One is, when I take them in, I get to make more fat to hide them. That was shown in the study to be true. So these fat-soluble toxins are taken in, and then the fat enrobes them and hides them. Second thing is I get to release a hormone called obesogens. What obesogens do? They inflame the whole body. They drive up your cortisol, but very insidiously, they cause every other cell in your body that's a fat cell to make more fat. Okay. So this is the other part of the problem we were talking about. Now, while those toxins are circulating around the blood, your immune system comes out. They're little firefighters, and they come out and they spray in water trying to put out the fire. Remember the fire at the beginning? Well, that takes water. Remember we talked about that extra water weight? So in the study on Isagenix, they lost 6.8 pounds of fat, but they lost 15 to 20 pounds of weight in the first month. A lot of that extra weight is water weight from this reaction. It's this toxic reaction that's going on as your physiology is trying to manage what was never expected by our creator, that we would poison the planet and screw with the animals, and basically we're not designed for this at all. All right, now I have to switch to solution, and you have to kind of stitch this together because of compliance. So let's talk about fasting. We haven't talked about any Isagenix products yet. We're just talking about in general. So fat-burning fasting. This is 2011. This is studies with Redmond. 24-hour fasting boosted human growth hormone 1,300% in women. That's a huge increase. Now, what's interesting is it goes up for the first 24 hours. It goes up for the second 24, so 48. On the third day, growth hormone drops, cortisol rises. Why? Because growth hormone makes you strong. You're supposed to go out hunting and foraging and looking for food. But on the third day, the creator goes, you suck at hunting. I'm going to put you in starvation. Cortisol is a starvation hormone. It kicks in on the third day and starts to eat your muscle mass, demineralize your bones, and that circles back to the low calorie. Because if you do low calories too much, you will trigger the same reaction. It was interesting. Someone came to me and said, I heard about that Isagenix, but this other thing, it's a 10-day fast. I said, look, I don't care which cleansing system, whatever you do, but I wouldn't recommend more than 2 days, because after 2 days, you really are taking off lean muscle mass. So 1 day good, 2 day better, 3 day bad. So, and this next part makes women mad. The men go up 2,000%. That's a huge increase. And it goes up and even more on the second day. Again, as we talked about, drops on the third day. And I put this out with Aaron because I always thought he wasn't sure which was before and after, so he had to label them there. I always think that's funny. It's my Canadian sense of humor. Okay, so let's talk about, so fasting is great for you physiologically, right? We know we have good hormonal changes, but we have a few bad things that happen at the same time. So this is what happens when you fast. So the first 4 hours, after the first 4 hours, the liver starts to detox. That's naturally what starts to happen. You're burning off your sugars. By 6 to 8 hours, sugar's gone. You're into fat burning, maximum fat burning, 24 hours. As you're fat burning, though, what's stored in the fat? 167 deadly toxins. And they come back out in the bloodstream, circulate around, piss everyone off again. And where do they go? Back into other fat cells. Because you can't flush them out. The liver's not designed to do this. So if you're going to fast, then you probably be very smart to add in some type of cleansing product that would do a couple of things. One that should support the liver, when we call phase 1 to phase 2 detoxification. Take fat-loving toxins, turn them into water-loving toxins, step 1. And then it should support the colon and the kidneys to gently flush them out of the system. Now, there's some new science that Isagenix is producing for this. I'm hoping it's ready for this celebration. It may not be ready until NYKO, but I've seen some of the early results. So we've got some science to share around this, and it's very exciting. The same thing happens. The toxins come out, liver's got nothing to do with it. This way we support the liver changes them. So here we go, phase 1, phase 2, and then phase 2, we can start to flush it out of the body. And you want to do it gently. You don't want to upset everyone. And that's what the Cleanse for Life is designed to do. Now, you may hear other things, and there's all sorts of claims out there. I'm telling you what I can support with the science, and I can be compliant about. The nutritional cleansing is support the body during fasting, support the liver, and support the kidneys and colon to help in the removal of toxins. That's what it's doing. Remember we talked at the beginning about the disclaimer. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is support the body in a natural reaction, and partly because of what we've done to the planet. All right, I should bring this up here because I had to bring it up somewhere, but interesting, Isagenix is not all organic. No, I'm an organic guy, I eat wild, and I get it. But they do what I consider the second best thing is they test all the raw ingredients for toxins. And they make sure that there isn't any, or they're so low that they're not a problem. And I know this because I have several products with Isagenix. I cost them a fortune. I'm not shy and I'm not upset about that. What I love is they do it. They test all my raw ingredients, then they test the finished product and make sure we don't have any microcontaminants and we don't have any toxicity. And my particular area, chocolate, is really problematic. And we really are very careful. We use the natural sources. I'm really pleased they do this. And the last count, they spent over $3 million a year doing this testing. And some products like mine, they don't have to do as extensive, but they do it anyhow. So I just want to share that. They also make sure that's on the label is the quantity and the quality that they state. So they really try really hard for that. And I'm working with them on several projects right now. It's the same thing. The other thing is in terms of ingredients they select, my product's probably one of the most expensive that you could ever do. And they came to me and said, you know, your chocolate's crazy. I mean, it's Belgian chocolate and it's 3-step and it's a fortune. Can we change it? And I said, no. Part of my secret is we use these wonderful products at, we use them at low temperatures to keep the enzymes and so on. And they said, okay, no problem. So let's talk about cleansing. One of the problems or fasting and then supporting it with a cleanse product is the brain tends to sabotage the problem. So I had created this product for another reason, the Ice of Delight chocolate, which is really nice. It was really a chocolate that also has brain-friendly nutrients in it. And the idea is it comes in, tickles your brain and makes it happy. What we're trying to do is satisfy your cravings so that the brain doesn't take you out of your cleanse. People ask how many Ice of Delight they should have when they're cleansing. The answer is the number you need to get through the 2 days, the minimum number. Not looking to eat a lot. Less is better, and if you don't need them, that's fine. Most people will do two to 4. Some people a little more initially, but most people use this to cleanse now. Over 95% of the cleansers in this company use this product. We came out with 2 new flavors, the dark chocolate mint, along with the sea salt and caramel milk chocolate. Was some people who come off sweet backgrounds weren't able to transition to the traditional dark or milk. They want something with a little more sweetness or the mint flavor. And we did that so that more people would enjoy the product. I think you would say that has worked out very well. And the reason we did that was so you can have easy and fun cleanse days. Then having the chocolate allows that brain not to sabotage, and that's a little reptilian brain there, to sabotage the process. And that's what's so important. This is something that you should be giving to everyone who signs up. So the whole idea is to control your craving for sugar and junk food, especially on shake days. Again, you're trying to avoid, I'll give you a power tip. If you take 1 or 2 chocolates about a half hour before you eat, most people can cut down their calorie consumption by half. Again, because once you satisfy the brain, then the cravings aren't as strong. This is another use we didn't think of, is to use it for calorie-rich dessert replacement. The nutrients get into the brain better on an empty stomach. That's why I said 15 minutes, half an hour to 15 minutes before eating, 2.5 hours after. But if you just want to enjoy a great chocolate and satisfy yourself, you can use it as a dessert replacement, which is certainly a lot better than most other choices. So how does it work? I mean, how does it help with your cravings? You remember, cravings actually come from the reptilian brain. So there's hunger that's coming from the gut, but most of it's driven from the brain. And when the feel-good neurotransmitters in the brain get low, the reptilian brain will short-circuit you, and it will go looking for any type of sugar, junk, carb, anything. So Isolite gets into the brain, tickles it, and makes it happy. That's all I can say about being compliant. It's a lot more complicated than that, but we got to stay compliant. Friends don't let friends cleanse without Ice Delight. So that's right. You don't like someone if you don't give them isolate for their first cleanse. Like I said, after that, up to them how many they need to use. That's okay. Share the love, baby. One of the things we find is people will go to sign up someone new. Chocolate's an afterthought, and they'll say, oh, you should get these chocolates. It'd be really good if we add them to your pack. And it's like, you can't ask someone who's never cleansed for making a decision. You say, you're going to need these for the first month. What flavor do you like? Dark mint, dark milk chocolate, or salted caramel? So we were talking about cleansing. We talked about getting through the cleanse. We talked about the hormonal changes that occur with fasting. That's not with cleansing. But something's interesting. When you finish your cleanse, you have what? You have a shake. It's a super nutritionally dense, low-calorie shake. It's interesting, as Dr. Redmond showed, you can have short-term calorie restriction in humans with the right nutrition will increase human growth hormone. That's all I can say on that with being compliant. You got to figure it out on your own. All right, so let's talk about the shakes. You can buy a shake anywhere. I can buy a giant shake thing at Costco for what I can buy Isagenix. So what's so good about the Isagenix shakes? So there's different ones. Isoline Pro, which is 36 grams. There's the Isoline, and then there's Isopro. I'm not going to get into the difference in those so much. It's just to give you an idea of why it's different. Now, I'll tell you, I put most people on the Isoline Pro. I like the fact that it has higher protein to sugar ratio. I find most people do better on it. Unless they're older, once they get over 70, renal and kidney clearance decrease, and I would probably start someone on Isoline. My mom at 83 decided that she wanted to do a shake, not because her son told her anything. Well, I burned her once in a clinical trial, but it wasn't really my fault. She never forgave me. But that's okay. So she says, well, I need to do shakes. Why? Well, because it helps with people falling when you're old like me. Okay. I mean, I wasn't going to argue. She says, so I'm going to try that Isagenix stuff. Okay, so I started on Isagenix. So we started on a half to 1 to 1.5 scoops of Isoline, which is where we are now. So you think that's the end of the story. Oh, no, mom wanders off, and she comes back and says, I need to do a green shake now. Well, why? Is it, St. Patrick's Day? No, I was at the health food store, and they had a green shake, and it looked really good. Mom, I'll send you some greens. You can make your own green shake. So yes, my mother at 83 is now on Isagenix with 1.5 scoops with some greens. So there you go. Okay, so higher standards than USDA organic. What does this mean? This is a New Zealand-based whey protein complex. And it means that the fields are checked regularly for toxins. The animals aren't giving any antibiotics, no steroids, no growth hormone, no medication. They're raised on grass. Now, that's a big deal. We're going to come back to the grass-fed part. But the other thing is we like to feed you raw dairy because raw dairy is full of enzymes that are really wonderful for you, but it's illegal in America to do that. So what John Anderson, the inventor of Isagenix, decided to do was add enzymes back in. He also processes the whey under low temperature, high pressure to keep the stereochemistry. We know that has a different response in the body. It's called undenatured. And let's talk a bit about grass-fed because that's a pretty important thing. So this is where most of the whey comes from. Now, I always think this is kind of funny. This is by the old headquarters in Isagenix in the desert. I think this many cows in the desert is a bit odd. This maybe because I'm Canadian. There's not a lot of grass. It's all mud. Now, these animals are fed GMO cornflakes, okay? And then they're often fed something called rendering protein. What is rendering protein? It's you can feed dead sheep to pigs and dead pigs to cows that they sell to the farmers to put more weight on the animal. And then some farms are actually giving them concrete dust the last 30 days to make sure that they're extra heavy. And then because they're so sick, because there's no grass, I mean, they're not cannibals, right? They're not designed for this. Get antibiotics, the lack of space. They get steroids, growth hormone. They're pretty sick animals. What happens then is their omega-6 levels rise, omega-3 drops, and their L-tryptophan levels drop 2 to 6 times, which you need for mood. So when you start taking animals off their natural diet and doing this and then feeding them GMO food, you're going to make the animals sick. You consume it, it's going to make you sick. And that's pretty straightforward. Oops. I actually got to go backwards. So this is where the whey comes from. These are real animals. I didn't Photoshop them. They're actually in New Zealand. They're right there now having a good time. They're happy cows. They're doing happy stuff, right? Look at all the grass. They hang around, they eat grass, they're milked in season. They're actually a different anagenically. They're smaller, they have different types of whey and casein protein. This is where you should get it from. This is the one with the higher than USDA or standards. So you want grass-fed, and you want to make sure it's from a pristine place like New Zealand, who really do understand animal husbandry. All right, so what's the difference between whey protein and soy protein, just bioavailability? Because a lot of people are pushing soy protein, which is not the best for humans. First of all, soy protein is not complete. Whey protein complex is complete. This is showing difference in bioavailability. I don't know why it's at 104. It's weird. Why would you make the scale 100? But hey, it's not me. But the bigger thing is that whey is much superior for fat burning, actually, and also whey protein complex supports healthy growth hormone levels, and also supports increasing muscle mass and thickening bones. That's just the nature of whey protein. And we're going to get to why in a second. So this is showing you the amount of fat burning that's going on with whey versus soy. And here's the reason why. Isagenix uses whey and casein ratios in the same as breast milk. And all of us still have that pathway. It's a very strong anabolic pathway designed when you get your mother's milk, as you turn your growth hormone and all your tissues grow and you develop, so hopefully into a healthy, happy child. That pathway never goes away in adults. In fact, dairy is used around the planet, but most of it's raw, which we can't do here. But this doesn't work for everybody. Some people, they just still can't take it, so they need to do dairy-free. Dairy-free is great as long as it's complete. Now, this is complete protein. I'm really excited what John was able to do here. It gives you 22 or 24 grams of complete protein. And I laughed when he started designing this because he says, oh, I'm going to do this vegan shake. And he told me he was trying to, I said, that's going to take you a while. He said, 3 years to figure out the flavoring. So the reason they're good is it took them a long time. They're terrific shakes. If you can't do the other, wonderful options. Or you have philosophical reasons where you prefer not to have animal products. All right, we're going to move on to shake. Let's talk about some other things that affect you. So let's talk about stress. Stress is a big one. So what happens with stress, we used to think stress raised your cortisol. Well, actually, what stress does is raise your inflammation in your body and your brain, and then your cortisol goes up and growth hormone plummets. So that's chronic stress, makes humans very sick. So we're going to talk about some remedies for this. This is one study, just to give you one example, there's one study where they taught women stress management for 30 days. The average woman lost 5 pounds of fat. They did nothing else. All they did was stress manage for 30 days. So it just shows you the powerful impact on your hormonal system if you manage your stress. Now, the things is and I just had a discussion with one of the associates who got an autoimmune disease flare-up, and we was talking with her. And her stress was high, she wasn't sleeping. And we talked about is, look, stress is hugely important. You have to manage your stress. Meditation or deep spiritual prayer, the two things that we know really help this. Now, before we thought it was an hour, but it turns out only 15 minutes a day has a massive impact. So this is Dr. Henry Benson's work out of Massachusetts, who showed that if you meditate for just 15 minutes a day, you turn off 2,000 inflammatory genes in 1 month. That's just meditating 15 minutes a day. Now, deep spiritual prayer works just as well. You can use yoga, you can use Tai Chi, Qigong, anything meditative, whether moving or still, has a big impact. Taking the time out for you is really, really important. You can do all these other things we talked about. You don't do this, you can't be healthy. And this also includes financial stress. So there's a nutritional thing, yes. There's something called adaptogenic herbs that have been used in China for 2,000 years. The Russians got hold of them in the 70s. They actually spent a lot of time to improve these cocktails. Dr. Beckman was the main scientist. When the wall came down in 85, Jim Coover, one of the owners of Isagenix, actually licensed that formula. That Russian formula is actually in Ionics and then enhanced by John Anderson. This is a very Eastern concept. These herbs give you energy when they need energy. It helps you relax when you need to relax. Most people do extremely well on this. So you got to do those other things we talked about. At the same time, this is a great nutritional product to help you in your lifestyle. All right. Find this is underused in the company. It's too bad. Let's talk about lack or wrong exercise. Let's talk about the right type of exercise. This is a typical Canadian. The game's over. You know what's the keg? Yeah, that's the remote's on the keg. It's on the keg on the floor. Cigarette. Had vitamin B, right? Beer. He had vitamin P, full food group, right? That's pizza. Had vitamin C in the morning and coffee to go with his vitamin D, which is a donut. So there's the classic Canadian. And you're gonna cleanse this guy and not get him chocolate? He doesn't have a chance. He doesn't have a chance doing this. All right, let's talk about the right type of exercise. Now, most people have been told you need to do aerobics and cardio to lose weight. And it turns out it's not true. The science does not support this. The way to lose weight is to lift heavy weights. Read the book, The Body by Science by Dr. Douglas McGuff and John Little, another Canadian. And the reason is you need to lift heavy weights increase growth hormone a lot. Now, it's not little girly weights. It's not like, you know, my sister came in and did 2-pound weights, stood on a blue dome and flapped her wings. No, you got to lift heavy weights. And that's usually 1 or 2 times a week. Now, NASA studied this and said, for the astronauts, this was definitely the best way to maintain the lean muscle mass, boost growth hormone. But in space, the problem is when you lift weights, they don't come back. So they said the number 2 way was interval training. I'll give you a stat on interval training. Interval training twice a week, properly, and you can read about it. I'm not getting into it here. 454% increase in growth hormone. So if you do weight training one day, 1 or 2 days of interval training, whatever the heck you want the rest of the time, you do your stress management, you're going to have a dramatic change in your hormonal composition. You're trying to get into that anabolic state, high growth hormone, low cortisol, body cool. That's what you're trying to do. No matter how hard you're training, what you're doing, you got 1 hour after you finish training to put amino acids into your body. 1 hour. Get them in. And that's because there's a reaction when the muscles are open and will make maximum growth hormone. It doesn't matter if it's Isoline Pro, Isoline, Isopro, whatever shake works for you. Get it into you. Now, you got 1 hour. Takes a half hour to digest the shake. So when do you have your shake? As soon as you finish eating. Put it in you. Poor nutrition, major problem, obviously. I travel to the airports. This is not an uncommon sight. Really sad out there. Up to 84.21% loss of vitamins in the food supply. It's vitamins and minerals. What's interesting is organic food is 15 to 85% of the nutrition it should be, depending on where you are. So even if you're an organic eater, a high probability you're going to add vitamins and minerals to your food supply. So the company came out with Ageless Essentials. And it's a really good vitamin because it's matched in to the rest of your system. Remember, you're already getting a lot of vitamins and minerals in the system, so it's matched in. But what it's missing is phytonutrients. So why don't we put them in the same? Because I'd have to create a pill the size of a rhinoceros suppository. And you'll object taking that. So we split it up. So Dr. Tony O'Donnell came up with the greens and fruits. Now, the idea of the greens and fruits is to provide those phytonutrients. And I'll tell you, even if you eat organic, especially in the winter, I mean, I know it's easy to get good food, but in the winter, especially in the north, I don't care organic. There isn't a healthy molecule anywhere, even if it's organic, unless you got greenhouses nearby. So having the greens and fruits are wonderful. I'll give you an idea. One scoop of the greens is the equivalent of about 9 salads of phytonutrients. You still got to eat your fruits and veggies, but the idea of this combination of Ageless Essentials and greens and fruits is adding things that we have taken out because we have poisoned the soil. All right, chronic pain. I don't have time to do the whole chronic pain discussion here. This is one of my main specialties, but I'll just mention briefly. So joint pain relief system. This is for people that have bad joints, bad backs. The thing is, what we find is you need to take 3 of the joint tablets twice a day or 6 once a day, along with your pain relief cream 4 to 6 times for the first week, and you can cut down the cream. If you're going to feel results in the joint support, it usually takes 7 days or up to 30 days. We find most people are only taking 3. When you design joints products like we did, to get enough nutrients to soothe the joints and support healthy cartilage growth, you have to put in a lot of nutrients. We've got 18 nutrients in there. You can't put it in 3 tablets. So if you only take 3, you're only getting half a dose. It's not enough. Big message there. We'll come and talk more about that next time. But it is a big part of being healthy is not having pain. You actually dream in pain and sleep in pain. We're going to talk about that next time. Sleep. Sleep's a huge, huge part of this discussion because sleep between, if you're not a shift worker, between 12 and 2 a.m., that's when your growth hormone is surging. And there's a little peak around 8 a.m. in the morning. If you're not getting your deep sleep, it's not happening. Sleeping pills, I don't care what the drug company says, you don't get deep sleep. How important is it? Well, this was the University of Washington. They took twins and they woke one up and they let the other one sleep. And after 30 days, the one that got woken up gained 5 pounds of pure body fat. Probably not happy about the result of that study. But it just shows you how important your sleep is. Remember, it's the same as this. If you think about the stress and the sleep study, they're back to back. There's 10 pounds of fat just doing those two things. What's a good night's sleep, though? It's 6 to 8 hours. Some people need as many as 10 or 12. So we'll say the average is 8. You don't wake up more than one time, no matter what your excuse is, and you wake up feeling rested and ready for the day. That's what you're striving for. Now, there's other strategies, and I'm happy to do a whole talk on sleep. I'll give you some here. Some people sleep really well on ionics. Remember, some people actually, when they need to relax, it helps them relax. Not everybody, so you need to try it. Sleep spray, very important. Less is more. If you go, oh, take it, oh, it didn't really work, and you keep squirting, too much melatonin really makes brains mad. A little melatonin often helps people sleep. So 1 to 2 sprays good. It's not for children. They should be making it on their own. They're not like you. So less is more on the sleep spray. And a little power tip here, use Isopro, not Isoline Pro, so no sugar. And all you gotta do is take a scoop, half a scoop, and a little water before you go to bed. Whey protein supports growth hormone release during sleep. So that's a power tip there. I think it's also something called the belly buster. They do that here. All right, so let's tie this all together. Let's talk about healthy aging or feeling younger. This is an Okinawan at 65 years old. And why is he upside down? Because he's showing how much better shape he is than the rest of us on the planet. A 65-year-old Okinawan has the same growth hormone levels as a 30-year-old American male. They routinely live into their late 90s, early 100s. They don't stop working. They're very intelligent. They don't have Alzheimer's. They don't have all the major diseases. Yeah, so there's a message to be told here. And so everything we talked about today, we talked about nutrition. We talked about eating organic. We talked about the shakes. We talked about cleansing and the fasting part of that. We talked about sleep. We talked about exercise. We talked about stress management. All of those things affect your DNA health. And there's a theory that DNA length is associated with longevity. And all of the things that I talked to you about support healthy DNA. And there's an additional product, which is product B, which supports healthy DNA. Now, they talk about telomere support. Well, since most people have no idea what a telomere is, it is the end part of your DNA where the transcription occurs. But most people know that you have DNA. They don't know what it does, but they know it's important, and you got it. So supporting healthy DNA is wonderful. You need to do all those other things, then you can add in product B, or Isagenix, which has got antioxidants, some other herbs to help support healthy DNA. And even the antioxidants are a big part of the story. That's why you should be eating organic and your fruits and your veggies and the greens and the fruits. There is some people in this company that start with product B, but I'd have to say is, again, when we talked about a single thing is not enough. There are a lot of things we have to do to be healthy. I've had long conversations with both Dr. Bill Andrews was initially part of this, along with John Anderson, and we all agreed that doing all these other things in the system was really the whole purpose, and adding this in as you want to do something else was the way to do it. So with that, I'm going to end tonight. It's all about, healthy lifestyle, healthy choices. And the idea is this combination. So you've got your fat burning system. That's why I like talking about stress, and I talk about exercise and food choices and eating organic. Doing all those things in combination are going to give you your maximum results, as opposed to just taking some supplements and some shakes. Yeah, you may have some good results, but ultimately you have to do all these other things to really be healthy.